What's going on, guys? This is kind of like a introduction video to the channel. Just going over like everything that's been done to this car, how I got it, what it's gonna turn into eventually. It's a 98 GSR. Picked it up off one of my cousin's buddies. He bought a bunch of racing parts for it. Got a bunch of stuff ready to go. It's still in pretty rough shape when I got it, but he gave me like new StopTech calipers with rotors and pads. He gave me all new hubs and wheel bearings for all four wheels. New exhaust system, cold air intake, bunch of little odds and end parts to put into it. When I first got the car, the wiring was completely messed up. Like we had down here, this wiring harness for the fan was cut off and hardwired into this grommet up here, and you had it run into a switch, so wasn't really working. Killed the battery a couple times with leaving the switch on, leaving the fan running. And then the wiring harness, it's not a B18C in it right now. He still has the B18C at his house, and so eventually I'll get that to start doing the turbo build, but right now this is a B20B. As you can see, it's still got the GSR transmission in there. It's got the matching VIN plate. So he had the B18C harness on here. A lot of the wires were cut wrong and not put on correctly, so had a lot of electrical issues in this car. The entire dashboard didn't get power, so had to go through, cut a lot of old plugs off, because like this is an OBD2 distributor, OBD2 plug, fuel injector plugs, OBD2 alternator. So I got an old B20B harness off my cousin, swapped all these OBD2 connections off of the GSR harness, put them on this B20B harness so I don't have to swap all these parts off. Got all that working good, then went into the car, and inside the car is just nowhere near complete, still an absolute mess. But this entire fuse box, I have no idea why, but the fuse box diagram for all of these in the diagram with the car was completely wrong. So none of this was wired right, so the radio didn't come on, my gauge cluster wouldn't come on. So I went through, just repinned every single fuse, got everything to turn back on. Once I got it to turn on, I don't know if you guys probably know this, it's a pretty old Honda trick. If I get the camera down here, this is your data logging port. Dealership uses it a lot, back in the day to read all what's going on with the engine. Back in the day there was no OBD2 reader. If you get a paper clip, jam that inside, and go up here, it'll flash all of your check engine codes up on there. I think I had about 5 check engine codes. It was like water temp sensor, idle air control valve, something with the crank position sensor. Just like a mess. The car was idling at like 100 RPMs maybe. So went through. This is prior to this harness being swapped out. Once the harness swap happened, all the codes went away besides my idle code, and figured out that this isn't the original air intake manifold or throttle body or anything. I had a bunch of old parts laying around from a previous Integra, so went through, ported and polished this. I port matched the throttle body hole to 70 millimeters to match this new throttle body. The old idle air control valve is completely rusted shut, so that was the big idling issue, was no air was able to get through the plunger, as the spring that controls the plunger and the IAC was completely rusted shut. So got that fixed. Now the only problem engine wise is I'm not too sure altogether. A lot of the stuff I've done on this car is only my first or second time doing it, but now instead of idling at 100 RPMs, we're getting maybe an idle of 1600. It's almost like it's stuck at cold, and I still get that code 14 for the IAC. So I'm not really too worried about it. It still runs just fine. And like I said, eventually, once I get the funds together, this motor is going to be coming out. My buddy's going to be buying this off me for his build, and we're going to get the original GSR motor in here. I'm going to have it bored out 0.5 millimeter over, forged pistons, probably go Wiseco, Eagle H-beam rods. But that can be a whole other video for the plans for the motor build and what's going on with that. But I guess for the other little bits that have been done to the car so far, I did a wire tuck on the car. I got rid of all, this is gonna come out when I swap the motor. I just don't feel like trying to get all these ABS hard lines out with the motor still in the car. So I just left the actual control unit in here with the fuse boxes going, all the plugs. I took my headlight plugs, my fan plug, ran them up into the fender wall, and instead of having Honda, the Integra loom is all one big loom. It has your engine harness plugs, which are down here now. It has your fuse box plugs that go back into your dash, your headlight plugs. It's all one loom. I just kind of separated all of them. So now the engine harness goes down here. I don't really have a good spot to put these yet because it's all messed up. As you can see, I still have the open plugs. It's OBD2 GSR half harness with an OBD1 B20 engine harness. So maybe eventually I'll do a battery relocation and clean this engine bay up a little more. The kid who had it before me, like I said, there's a lot he did to the car, kind of like half jobs. So as you can see, he started deleting the evap system. Like all these lines are disconnected. The purge valve has nothing going to it. So I'm gonna need to clean that up. I didn't plan on deleting the ABS, but when I got the car, it was already missing the fuse box. A lot of the wires were already cut. The rear had no ABS sensors and the wires were cut there. So at this point, it cost me more to try to fix it. So it's just all gonna come out of the car. The one thing he did do good, he's got skunk, I think this is an skunk 2 alpha radiator quad core. So I don't have to worry about upgrading that. I'll probably just clean it up when I get the motor out of the car. I'll maybe get an aftermarket fan kit for it. See if I can run dual fans maybe. He deleted the AC and power steering out of this car. I had to go through and clean up all the wiring. He kind of just had the wires hanging down in there. I did a wire tuck on this side as well. This one turned out a lot better. I had the high beams and the low beams running. Just kind of the same thing, just tucked it up into the fender walls, and I actually cut it out of this harness so I could just keep that kind of tucked down there so you don't see the half harness plugs, and ran the headlight wires up through the fender wall. And I don't know if you can see it with the door open, but yeah, you can't really see. It's like way down in there. I have it running through the passenger or the driver's side grommet for the door panel wires. And then interior, not really much has been done yet. Like I said, the gauge didn't work before. Got the gauge working now. This car's an absolute mess for me, just working on it all day. Kind of just been throwing tools and whatnot in here. Just so I could listen to the radio whenever I'm driving. I just got a cheap little Pioneer radio. Both the windows didn't work. That one's got a busted window motor. This one is good. It's the master switch. It's actually bad. So just for the time being, the switch is disconnected right now. As you can see, I just painted this trim piece black. It's actually what we're working on today. I gotta reconnect the switch, but I have kind of like just a ghetto rigged wires running up. You can see them running up underneath, and I jumped the power wires behind this kick panel just so I could, have the window go up and down when I needed, especially with, it being summertime soon and, having no AC. Some things I've done. He already had the Skunk 2 short throw shifter, but the bushings underneath the car were absolutely trashed. So I put some energy suspension shift bushings. I got this cheap little NRG Type R replica weighted shift knob, so the car shifts way better. Especially with the idle issues fixed out, the car runs and drives pretty good. Maybe we'll get a couple of videos of us doing some polls just so you can kind of see where the car's at now before we start doing, crazy motor stuff to it. Speaking of this painted panel, this is kind of what we're working on today. Using Rust-Oleum trim and bumper paint, letting that cure over, and then giving it a matte clear coat finish. I practiced on this door panel over here. It didn't really turn out too well. It's kind of tacky because I have to throw that door panel out anyway. There's a lot of holes and dings and dents all over it. So I practiced on that to try to figure out the right mix or the right type of paint to use. And then once I figured it out, did this. Obviously these seats, they're gonna go. I'm looking at some NRG seats, probably these like little all red seats. The big conversion right now, while I'm waiting to save up the money for the engine build, is going to be restoring the interior. So like I said, we're just going through panel by panel, repainting them black. We're kind of working on the back today. I just painted this. It's in the garage. I got this one getting sanded down right now. We'll take that one out in a little bit here. The exhaust on it right now, it's just some, I think it's just some eBay. I think it's called like Onyx Racing or something. Just some eBay exhaust, you know, fart can system. It actually doesn't sound too bad. It kind of sounds similar to my old Yonaka system on my last Integra. All right, while I'm down here, I also got some, you know, just no-name subframe brace and control arm kit. The coils, they got to go eventually. They're, I think, OEM to the car. I haven't really looked at them too much. When I got the car originally, the hubs, they were pretty trash. They were screaming like crazy, so I had to change those out. But I mean, all in all, I guess the car's not running too bad. Can't really think of what else has been done. We restored the headlights. They were just, you know, I think they were junkyard headlights. I think he had cracked headlights, but just resanded and clear coated the lights. Turned out pretty good. Can't really think. Oh yeah, I guess we painted the valve cover. Forgot to mention that. I mean, it's not obvious enough. We had a bad oil leak, as you can kind of see down here. This whole seam here was leaking, so I just caked it with blue RTV on a new gasket. It sucks because when I put this new painted air intake manifold on, I didn't seat the gasket right in the rear. So the second I took it out to go for a pull in it, I sprayed oil over the brand new paint. So kind of ruined that. But like I said, this isn't staying in this car, so it's not really that big of a deal. Just again, eBay headers, you know, just some no-name headers. Anything was better than the old exhaust that was on the car, because that was I think it had two holes in this pipe and this pipe, and then he had just some ghetto rigged test pipe welded up that I think he did himself, but it was just holes all over the place. It wasn't holding good pressure. Just the whole car smelled like fumes whenever you drove it. I guess as for the plan right now is going to be finish up getting the interior black. I'm thinking I kind of like how the carpets look. I don't really want to go down to bare floor. I kind of want to keep these carpets in. I'm just going to dye them black probably. And then, you know, just take all these little tiny plastic panels out here. I got to figure out how to get the headliner and the sunroof cover out so I can paint those as well. The dash, you know, I just got to get these stickers off and paint the dash up, change the steering wheel out. I actually have a buddy, I think he's got an NRG steering wheel that I can throw in there. Yeah, and then I think while we have the panels out, I've kind of been working on it a little bit, scraping off the sound deadening and sand all this rust out. You know, it seems like it's all good metal. Might be a little hollow there, but see if we can sand all this rust out, paint it up black. Like I said, I want to keep the carpets, so cleaning this whole thing out, get it painted black, get the panels painted black. I guess one other little thing is he just had a piece of duct tape when he deleted the rear windshield. So I took the duct tape off, and just Amazon had some, you know, $20, just a little metal washer to put there with rubber O-rings on it to stop it from leaking. Looks, you know, a little better. Overall, I think body-wise of the car, I'm not really concerned about painting it yet. I'll be doing that myself. I mean, it's got a few dings and dents. This bumper is cracked up. The hood up here has a rust spot on it. Probably just have to replace it. It's pretty rusted through. The rust goes like all the way back to here, and I'm pretty sure it's starting to eat up underneath this seal right here. So we'll have to get a junkyard for that. This is how the panels are turning out right now. I just painted the rearmost panel. Like I said, it's just, if you guys are trying to do this yourself, it's just Rust-Oleum trim and bumper paint. Give that a couple light coats, and then if I can find where I put the can at, just using Rust-Oleum 2X matte clear, and it turns out nice enough where it kind of gives like that OEM shine, but it's not tacky or anything. It still has that smooth finish to it. Now we're just working on sanding this down, just scuffing it up to get that OEM finish off of it, so the paint will actually stick. Yeah, I think that's really it. I mean, there's a bunch of little problems I'll get to in other videos to come down the line, but that's just a quick walk around of what we're going with now, what we've done to the car so far. And I guess we're putting up probably the next video will be a more in-depth video of painting these interior panels. Maybe get like before and after shots of how it turns out, show you guys how I'm doing it. I'm not an expert at this by any means, but figured, put some information out there. So if you guys are trying to do it yourself, you can see how I did it, how it turns out for me. And if you want, you can, copy it yourself on your builds. Yeah, I'll get back to you later with that then, guys. All right, guys, I think that wraps it up for this video. Like I said, the next 2 videos are probably going to be back-to-back uploads doing those panels, and we'll probably go for a couple runs in this so you guys can see how it's performing. Just make sure you guys stay subscribed so you can see all the videos that are coming out. Make sure to like the video at the end of watching this, and I'll see you guys later.